there we go. All right. I'm gonna close that out. Let me do this. I'm gonna put my headphones on so I can hear everyone. Ooh. All right. Hi, guys. There we go. That's a little better. Hi, guys. Are you guys ready? This is going to be so much fun. This is like my favorite part is we get to spiral together and have crazy, crazy theories. Okay, there we go. I'm going to leave the fantasy music going for a little bit. All right. Oh, there we go. Hi, everyone. Oh my goodness. Welcome to our Crazy Spiral Theory crossover night. I'm very excited to have you guys here. This is going to be so much fun. In just a few minutes, I'm going to invite Samantha and Avery over. They are going to help kind of discuss these crossover theories with me tonight. But before we get started, I just want to give some ground rules and kind of explain what you can expect tonight. Number one, something that we do here for Rosebud's Realm, something we've done for about a year now, is we use a tool called Slido. It is slido.com, and you put in a code. And it's really for your phone. So if you want to kind of insert a question or anything, you can go ahead and put it in there. To kind of show you what it looks like, I'm going to share my screen so you can see. This is what I will be looking at tonight. So if you have any questions or anything or any theories you want to go over, you can go ahead and add them to this tab right here. And I'll just kind of be keeping an eye on it. There is a few second lag on YouTube, so forgive me if I miss any of your questions, but I will do my best to kind of pay attention as best I can to all of your comments on YouTube. So I will be reading them periodically. But if you have something you specifically want to ask us or you kind of want to break down, we will go ahead and put it in Slido. The code tonight is WORD, like Wordgate, WYRD. So make sure you go ahead and put that in. The other thing I'm going to go ahead and say before we get started, let me see, I did that. You can go ahead and comment on here. We will be having a midnight premiere party for Crescent City House of Sky and Breath. It will be on Monday, Valentine's Day, and it will go from 10 p.m. Central Standard Time to, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time to 11 p.m. So it'll be 10 to 12 Eastern Time. So it'll be about a 2-hour live stream. It's just going to be really fun. We're going to do some giveaways. We have a really cool prize to give away at the end of the night. So a lot of information is going to come out about that at the end of, or I should say the beginning of next week. So if you guys are curious about that, to tell you what's going to happen tonight. So if you haven't already figured out, this will be a full spoiler session. We're going to be talking all crossovers, meaning this is full spoilers for Throne of Glass, Crescent City, and ACOTAR. So everything is off the table. So if you have not, read those books, I probably would say to come back another time when you finish them, because we will be talking full spoilers for all of it. What we're going to do is we're going to start off the night with the most obvious things, those being, like Aelin's Fall and Kingdom of Ash, moving to our most obscure theories or ideas, which I know Avery really kind of helped on that end of things. So just to kind of give you what the full spectrum is for tonight, that's what you can expect. And yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and bring in our incredible hosts, or my co-hosts, I should say, because they are going to be helping me kind of make this whole thing happen. Hold on a second. I just need to put this on the right system. I should have done this beforehand. Oh, headphones. Oh, that's so nice. I didn't know I could do that. Okay, cool. And then I'll leave the music on. Okay. Admit all. There we go. Hi, guys. Hello. How are you guys doing? Good. Yeah, I see we have a witchling shirt on. We have, I love that. You got the ACOTAR. I should have worn if I had planned a little better, I would have worn a Crescent City themed shirt, but didn't really get to that tonight.
Coordinate well with that.
No, we didn't. Hold on. I just want to make sure everyone can hear you guys. Say something.
We were able to hear everything.
Okay, hold on. Actually, I'm going to fix you guys and put you on a different sound system, so it's a little easier for me to control. If I can find it. They're all labeled the same, so it's always so confusing for me. I'm like, which one is it? Okay, there we go. And then I'll go ahead and turn the music off. Perfect. Okay, awesome. Well, we can't hear them. You should be able to hear them now.
Hi.
Hello.
Let's see. Hopefully everyone's now like, oh, we can hear you. Okay, good. I'm
Hoping.
good. Volume is low. It's as high as it can go for me.
Is it me?
No, I don't think so.
For me?
I don't think so. I'm like, I have it as high as it can go. There you go. Okay, that's much better. Okay, good. Okay,
Cool.
okay,
I love that.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce you guys. I want you to feel free. I will ask, or I guess I should say, I'm going to ask you guys a few kind of like starter questions just to kind of everyone get a sense of who you are. I'm going to go ahead and start with Avery, and then or I should say Avery's right there, and then Samantha is below me. So I'll let her introduce herself last. So go ahead, Avery.
Okay, hi. I am Avery. I'm Freckles in Fiction over on TikTok and Instagram. I do a lot of SJM series, mostly Akatar related, very specifically Asriel and Gwyneth Berdara related. But I do have a tendency to spiral. And so Sarah and I met fairly recently.
Yeah.
Via the interweb, and the rest is pretty much history. We literally spiral all the time. The poor girl gets phone calls from me in the middle of the night going, but did you see this one? I cannot handle this.
Yeah. At one point I had to say, like, Avery, I'm going to sleep. Like, I can't have this conversation right now.
I can't do this right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's me.
Yeah. Go ahead, Samantha.
Hi, I'm Samantha. If you are in the Discord, you probably know me. I started out back in March, I think. We started working on the Throne of Glass notes. So I'm one of the people who was behind all of those copious amounts of notes that we did. And since that's over, I just kind of moved over to the Crescent City notes. So I've been helping with that. And of course, I also love to spiral. It's mostly me sending like random messages into different chats in the Discord whenever they like pop into my brain, which is very random most of the time.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say too, so like for anyone, I mean, we don't release the Throne of Glass notes and there is a specific reason for that. But if you think the Crescent City notes are a lot, you should see the Throne of Glass notes because those are even more intense. And Samantha.
They went hard.
Yeah, they were a lot of work. I think it was very easy to say that. I think by the end of it, we were all thrilled that it was done.
I can only imagine.
What is Avery's TikTok? Avery, do you have a link to your TikTok?
Yes, somewhere.
Okay, we'll find one.
It's Freckles _and _fiction. So basically, if you type at Freckles, or I have like a hashtag where I did like an entire timeline of Asriel and Gwyneth Berdara. It's hashtag Aswin timeline. If you look up that hashtag on TikTok, my videos pop up. So
yeah, Avery is very much a big, like, you don't want to talk about Elaine with Elaine and Az together with Avery. She doesn't buy it. Yeah. So
I have nothing against you liking what you like. I just need for you to know you're wrong. So
I think we're all Gwen real, right? Like, is any? Yeah. I was like, I don't think I'm definitely. I mean,
guys, it got excessive. Excessive.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
I am who I am.
Yeah, for real. Okay, so then I guess my next question, because I think most people here know that I read Throne of Glass, then Akatar, then Crescent City. So what was the order in which you guys read the books?
Do you want me? I can go first.
Yeah,
I did Akatar, and then Throne of Glass. Well, I did Akatar, tried to pick up Crescent City, got about 4 pages in about 4 different times, put it down, picked up Throne of Glass, and then picked up Crescent City.
Okay, got it.
So
I was the same order. I did Akatar first, then Throne of Glass, but I did it like immediately after.
Yeah.
And then did Crescent City after I emotionally recovered a little bit.
Yeah. I was going to say, I know for a lot of people who are like trying to play catch up, we typically don't recommend you going from like Kingdom of Ash to Crescent City because that is the worst order to go in.
Yeah. It's painful.
I definitely recommend. I definitely recommend a buffer book. Mine was The House in the Cerulean Sea.
Yeah.
It's a good buffer book.
Yeah.
I think Sarah and I don't know, Sam, how fast you read Throne of Glass, but Sarah and I are the crazy ones.
Yeah.
She read it in a week. I read it in 2, and I read Kingdom of Ash in a day.
But I skipped Assassin's Blade and Tower of Dawn.
Yeah, I did not.
Didn't skip either, and you should not skip.
You shouldn't. You shouldn't.
You shouldn't skip. But if you're like me and you know yourself well enough and know that you don't have the mental capacity to do the tandem read, and you know that if you read Empire of Storms, you are going to need to go straight into Kingdom of Ash.
Yeah.
I did read it, Tower of Dawn, Empire of Storms, Kingdom of Ash, and it didn't spoil anything.
As long as
for
you
me.
don't read the epilogue.
Right. Don't read the epilogue, and just, it's interesting because you go in with different information.
Yes. Yes.
You go into Empire of Storms with information you wouldn't have had otherwise. And that is very interesting when you read it that way.
Because you know that Maeve is Valk throughout the entire thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Yeah. And
that is a thing that I did know.
I was going to say, I went into Kingdom of Ash finding out when Rowan found out, and I was like, my reaction was like, yeah, I think my reaction was the same as his, which was like full on panic attack. And then things started to piece together for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I will say, I think what's really interesting, and I know we have not actually talked about this, but I feel like the spiraling kind of, I don't know for anyone else, but the real kind of kicker for me was the fall in Kingdom of Ash, which that'll be the first one we talk about. But because I feel like a lot of people, they kind of think we're crazy until they get to that point, and then it's like, oh wait, it's like actually a thing.
But also then you have the people who dismiss it as an Easter egg and aren't crazy like us and looking for any and all of the other instances that a crossover could occur.
Yeah. At one point, we were in like a Marco Polo chat, and I was like messaging Avery, and I was like, "Blue robes, Avery, blue robes," and everyone in this. Robes. It was white robes, yes. I was like, white robes, and everyone in the chat was like, "Are you guys talking in code?" And I was like, "No, we're not."
So she said, "Avery, these ones are wearing white robes," and I responded with, "It's okay, I'll make it work."
Yeah, because which we'll get into the robes and all that. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and start us off with the most obvious theories, and then we will kind of move throughout the night to the most chaotic and obscure ones. Some of these, by the way, for you two that have had the doc, I'm going to probably skip around a little bit, but I'm going to go off of the headers.
If we do the most obvious ones, I feel like we should each do one because there are only 3.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine.
That could be fun.
Okay. Do you want me to start?
Well, yeah, because obviously you need to start with that one.
Okay, all right. So I'll start with the most obvious one, which is obviously when Aelin falls through the worlds in Kingdom of Ash. So that would be, for anyone who doesn't remember, she right before she puts the word keys in her arms, she meets the gods, kicks the gods into hell. And then discovers that Rowan had put word marks on her back to lead him back to her. She falls through the worlds, runs into Rhys and Feyre. Feyre is pregnant. There it is. That's the fan art. I love that you can even see, like, I think you can see Rhys and Feyre on that one.
It's so good. Yeah,
they're like really, really tiny, but they're like
such a good piece of fan
art. And then Hunt and
Bryce are right there.
Bryce, little tiny on that side.
Now, who did that one? Who's the artist for that one?
I think it was the Touch of Magic.
Oh, okay.
It was part of one of their things. Okay, cool.
Yeah, because I ordered a bunch from them at one point. But yeah, I love that art.
Oh, so
yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, so obviously that's the most obvious one. Aelin falls through, I think it's 3 different places. She falls through 4. One is like
there's a lot that are actually like
it's like one after the other.
Aren't described.
She briefly mentions multiple. I wonder if there are 26. I have questions about that.
Don't.
She goes really fast through a bunch of them and then only describes a few. And because like there's a world, I think that's all water.
Yes.
And there's like a green one.
Yes.
And then she describes like,
the Night Court, and then I think it's Crescent City.
I know how many there are.
Yeah, the like curved river or whatever and everything.
Yeah. I don't.
The other ones are just like she's falling through all these worlds.
I don't think she goes through 26 of them. I'm gonna be honest.
Hold on.
Maybe she could have gone through 26, but obviously she slowed down because of Reese and all that jazz.
Yeah.
And landed in her actual world. But there were maybe 26.
Yeah. And
actually, you know what? There's probably frickin' 7.
Shut up. But what I was going to say, so like going back to this, obviously the back half of this was in Silver Flames, where it's the mention of the Red Star. So if you guys remember in Silver Flames, at one point they mentioned that Reese was, him and Feyre were out and he saw a red star and it really spooked him. And like they think it's a bad omen is like the way they're describing it. And Reese isn't really talking about it, which is extremely frustrating because I think most of us, when we realized that Feyre was pregnant, was hoping that was the deleted scene in the book, which was him falling, and she has that written, but it's not published.
It's something else that's stupid.
Yeah. So that is that one, and then the next one I have is the books.
I think Sam should take the books because I really want to talk about Stacked Worlds.
Okay.
Let me look and see what we have here. So if you've been paying attention to the Crescent City during the reread, in the scene, I think it's with Micah when she's like fighting Micah, she falls down and I think she's like trying to reach books or something to throw at Micah's head or whatever.
Yes.
And a few books are mentioned and it says she stretched her arm out toward the shelf. Her tingling fingers brushed over the titles on the Divine Number, The Walking Dead, The Book of Breathings, and The Queen with Many Faces. So The Walking Dead, we know from Throne of Glass, that was prominently in, I think, I guess it's in Queen of Shadows as well, but it's in
Crown of Midnight.
Crown of Midnight.
Yeah.
That's the book that Aelin gets. That's, the creepy, like, rising from the dead stuff that we discover. And then the Book of Breathings, which is from ACOTAR.
Yes.
That is in Akamath and Akawar. Before they, yeet it into the cauldron and it disappears.
Yeah.
Which, it just apparently is a connection to Crescent City, maybe through the cauldron. I don't know.
Yeeted.
Yeah, because we don't know what happened to the Walking Dead at the end of Throne of Glass. I think the last person to have it was Dorian, and then I don't know what happened to it after that. But
I can find out.
But we do. Well, I'm just saying. I know Dorian was the last person to have it because he had it in his possession. And maybe Kale, did Kale steal it in Queen of Shadows?
Oh.
Don't worry, I'm looking.
He might have stolen it and given it to Aelin, but the last place it was like in that book, and then we didn't see it again in Kingdom of Ash. So
yeah.
But you're right about the Book of Breathings was yeeted into the cauldron, and then that was kind of the end of it.
It was.
Disappeared, and then surprise, it's in Crescent City. Because I know when I was like reading that for the first time, like, wait a second.
Yeah.
What are you doing, Sarah J. Maas?
Yeah. And there's also a lot of theories around the library, which is why we think that those books are tied to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are you still looking?
And the Queen of Many Faces. Don't forget to talk about that.
Yeah. So the Queen of Many Faces, this is mentioned in Kingdom of Ash. When like Aelin is with all the gods and everything, they're talking about the lock and they mention like the thing with many faces. And then there's the potential that it's also a reference to Aelin herself because, of her long list of names that she goes under.
Yeah.
There's like 20 names under here. So I think it'd be cool if it was a book about Aelin. Like,
yeah, I want it to be a book about Aelin, but I feel like it might be a book about the god because that one is
probably more likely.
But I would rather be about Aelin.
Can you just imagine like Bryce sitting there reading about Aelin? Like,
yeah,
it looks like Dorian, but it's not 100% clear.
Yeah, I feel like Dorian was the last one to because he definitely took it from her at the end of Crown of Midnight. And then I couldn't remember if Kale took it from Dorian once he escaped the palace or not. But yeah,
Kale had Irene. They took all of the books from Hafiza.
Yes,
that was just the books that they had.
Yes,
with the ward marks and stuff. So they're like, "Here, Aelin, read these, please."
Yeah, and she was like, "Thanks for the books, guys."
I can't read that fast. Like, what?
Yeah. Meanwhile, Rowan's like, can you teach me how to do this? And she's like, do you want me to read it or teach you? Like, what is going on here? Okay, and then the last most obvious one is the stacked worlds.
Yes, these are my favorites. You can find them in A Court of Silver Flames, which is my favorite ACOTAR book, hands down, no holds barred. I will fight you. And Crown of Midnight. So the important thing is in A Court of Silver Flames, the first time it's mentioned is with Meryl. So Gwen is talking about Meryl, and she says lots of things. Meryl's brilliant, horrible, but brilliant. When she first came here, she was obsessed with theories regarding the existence of different realms, different worlds living on top of each other without even knowing it. And then she continues to talk for a hot minute about that. Then she says, then it's mentioned again in the part where Nesta is scrying for the harp,
Right.
inadvertently. And so the harp is saying, we shall open doors and pathways, we shall move through space and eons together. It had sung to her unintentionally during her scrying. Our music will free us of earthly rules and borders. And then it talks about the different levels of the strings for the harp. Then in Crown of Midnight, it's with Aelin and Baba Yellowlegs. Love Baba Yellowlegs. So
Wait, do you really?
yeah.
Why?
Because she's crazy.
Oh my God.
The only reason I don't like her as
No, because she sucks.
She sucks. But like in an objective, like
Right.
overarching,
She was a cool character.
She's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fair.
Yellowlegs looked toward another mirror. The word governs and forms the foundation of this world, not just Aurelia, but all life. There are worlds that exist beyond your knowledge, worlds that lie on top of each other and don't know it. Right now, you could be standing on the bottom of someone else's ocean. The word keeps these realms apart. So, those are the stacked worlds.
Which is wild.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, yeah. Oh, and someone did say, Deanna says that Skulls Bay. So that was the last time we saw The Walking Dead when they're trying to communicate with Elena. So it was...
Oh, right.
That was the very last time we saw it. So someone has it. Someone took it.
Someone has it.
Probably after they decided to sleep together on the beach, someone made sure to grab the book. So, you know.
They're like, oh, they're not watching. Let me just
right. Then they just yeet it to another dimension so then that way someone else can use it.
Well, and obviously in the stacked worlds, we will delve into how we think that connects to Crescent City. But yes.
Yeah, because I think the biggest question a lot of people ask is what the timeline is and like where everything kind of lines up. And it is a little confusing because some things feel like they might be this way, but then some things feel like they might be this way. So the stacked worlds kind of helps. The fall kind of helps a little bit to figure out, but it's not fully clear to anyone.
Not at all.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to move on to our most likely theories. So these are things that we feel like they connect. We have a pretty strong opinion on it, but it's not very firm, I guess I should say. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the Lanthus is Valg thing, and then we'll do the monster under the mountain with Air of Fire. Avery, I have a feeling you want to talk about Lanthus is Valg.
I do. I love Lanthus.
I was like, yeah.
Okay, so if you haven't noticed, I have like a little bit of a theme where I like the crazy people. Lanthus is arguably insane. Okay, so Lanthus is Valg. The quote from A Court of Silver Flames, there are several. First one, we're talking... A naked, golden-haired man stood before her. He was of average height, his golden skin sculpted with muscle, his sharp-boned face simmering with hate. Not a repulsive, awful creature, but one of beauty. His black eyes narrowed upon the blade as he hissed, "That's not Narbin." The name meant nothing to her. So, who does that sound like to you descriptively?
Yeah, I was gonna say Erewhon, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. Moving on. Lanthus's head and corpse fell in different directions, thumping upon the stones. Strange black blood spurted from his form, and then Cassian was there, groaning as he wrapped a hand around hers again.
Yeah. So for anyone who doesn't
Black
remember,
blood.
yeah. So for like I feel like a lot of our theories revolve around Valg, and just to kind of back up a little bit for anyone who's like, wait, what? So a little bit of Valg lesson. So Valg obviously come from another realm. It is known that they traveled through different realms, hoping to take over things. They do take the appearance of other beings. So like Maeve, for instance, that's not her skin. You know, she's just a shell. Same thing with Erewhon. Same thing with Lanthus. So they do look different. And they all have black blood. What we do know from Throne of Glass is that there are 3 kings, and there was obviously the queen, but there's also princes and princesses. The princesses appeared as spiders. The princes appeared as dark, creepy creatures that overtook bodies with rings. I mean, yeah. So most people were possessed. A lot of people were possessed in Throne of Glass through rings or collars. At one point, Doreen was possessed by a Valg, if you remember that. So when Avery, and I know we're going to talk a little bit more about some different theories, a lot of it does hinder on the fact that we strongly believe Valg are kind of a key factor across the different worlds. So I just wanted to summarize that because I knew someone was going to be like, there's a lot of conversation around Valg.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I think all of us agree that is probably what Lanthus was that because of the black blood and the eyes. I don't think there hasn't been another creature that was been depicted that would, cause us to think that.
Right.
So
that black blood that gets me every time.
It's the black blood.
So I also included in this, it's not Lanthus necessarily, but it is connected to the story that he told Nesta when he was trying to convince her to rule with him. And he was like, but you and me and sexy time. And she was like, but I have Cassian with sexy time. So like, ew. Which honestly, we stand.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also really loved the idea that, because remember in Silver Flames, they brought up the fact that like Cassian really struggled to capture Lanthus. And I was like, Aelin and Rowan did it like that. Like, it just kind of cracks me up to think about the fact that they all are so stressed about this Valg. And all they got to do is call the Fae chick in the other dimension and she'll be like, hold on.
Actually, I got this. Okay. So in this, I'm trying to remember exactly where I pulled this from. It's after the it's when Nesta is talking about what went down in their fight with Lanthus.
Oh yeah.
So basically they're gaining more information. So the Daglin is what it's called, and it says the Daglin possessed mighty monstrous beasts. Hounds they called them, though they didn't look like the hounds we know, that they used to run prey to ground before they tortured and killed them. It's a terrible history, and much of it might be elaborated myths. And then Nesta says the hounds looked like the beasts in the hewn city, which to me sounded very, very closely related to the hounds, the word hounds in Throne of Glass. So that's just another little connection there in conjunction with Lanthus and him being Valg. Because when they talk about the Daglin in Silver Flames, it sounds a lot like Valg.
So you think the Hellhounds in Sky and Breath are the same thing?
I think they could be.
So for anyone I should explain. Hold on. So for anyone who didn't see,
they're so confused.
There was a page leak of Sky and Breath, and it was a really grainy image, and Avery saw it and enhanced it and wrote it down, which she could see, and there's clearly the word Hellhound.
So here's the enhanced image, which you can't see, and then hold on. I have to pull out the Marco Polo. Yeah. Because I didn't save it as a picture.
It's so funny. I was reading and I come into the Marco Polo chat and there was 14 polos of Avery being like, so Hunt said and Bryce said.
It's the most ridiculous thing I think I've ever done. Hold on. My coworker, we were on lunch and she's sitting in my office and I'm just trying to eat my Burger 21 chop salad like a human. And she records me for 2 minutes trying to zoom in on this picture. And it is just not happening. Okay, here we go. I found it.
I love someone said, so Valg is to SJM Universe as Venom is to MCU. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Transcribing. Okay. This is the transcription. This is as far as I got. So then I wrote it all down.
Yeah, you need to take a picture of that. Take a picture of that and put it in Discord so we can see it. Because I want
literally just like blank, 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 blank to the fridge and yanking it open, the blank, 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 like his wings blanking there. Like it's the most, like you cannot read this picture as hard as you try.
Yeah, it's
but
really bad.
Apparently there's a gaming system in Crescent City called either Cling Cube or Open Cube. I couldn't tell.
I mean, she did say that they played like Mario Kart on the couch.
I mean,
yeah. So
but the overarching thing of this week is that there is a hellhound and his name is like something ridiculous that it's like Bixaria or something. Like it's something stupid.
Of course.
Hold on, I think I have it written down. No, it went away.
Yeah. So
I can pull it up.
So the reason I bring this up is because I feel like once we all finish Sky and Breath, there's gonna be more connections because I don't think we have it.
Oh yeah.
Wait, what?
Baxian. Baxian. Baxian.
Baxi. Okay. Well, that's fun.
I hate it a lot. It sounds like Sebastian. I really just am gonna call him Sebastian.
That's fine. It's like I call what's his name just Co. I'm like, that's Co. Co and Brie.
Co?
Yeah, Co. Is it Koshi? Koshe? I just call him Co.
Oh, Koshi.
I just call him Co.
Like, what?
I call him Co. And then
it's Koshe and Brialyn. I don't know why that's hard for you.
I don't know. So I call her Brie. I'm like Brie and Co.
No,
that sounds like a retail store, like a women's clothing store. Brie and Co.
It is. But it's
this
with a K.
Spiraling, y'all.
But it's a K. It's not a C. Okay, so then I'm going to quickly just talk about the monster under the mountain and air fire because this is probably one of the more looser, more likely things. But to jog everyone's memory, this was essentially an air of fire, if you remember, when Luca, because Rowan has this genius idea of tying Luca up under a mountain on like a frozen pond and tells like Aelin to run and go save him. And as she does that, there's a monster that appears, and then that's when she gets the sword. Rowan throws her the ring, all that fun jazz. Now, after all that happens, they go back and they talk to, why am I blanking on his name? Emrys, right? Yeah. They talk to Emrys. But you know why? Because I think The Witcher now when I hear that, so my brain is like not thinking that's his name. Okay, anyways. So they go and they talk to him and he explains that I heard a story from years ago of a fool who thought he could cross the Cambaran Mountains and enter Maeve's realm without an invitation. He was on his way back, barely clinging to life thanks to Maeve's wild wolves in the passes. So we brought him some healers. I just realized his last name is Malachi. Just throwing that out there. A twinkle in those old eyes, blah, blah, blah. He says the creature was almost as old as the mountain itself. It claimed to have been born in another world, but had slipped into this one when the gods were looking elsewhere. It had preyed upon the Fae and humans until a Fae warrior challenged it. He carved one of the creature's eyes out for spite or sport, cursed the beast. So long as the mountain stood, the creature would be forced to be... live beneath it. The monster was from another realm. Had it been let in during the Valgors when the demons opened and closed portals to another world at will. And then it asks about how many horrific creatures had dwelled in this land. And then finally Rowan asks a question and the response, how do you know about this? And he says, I don't know. It was neither beast, but the language spoke was Fae. It was an archaic form of the old language, almost indecipherable. and it could remember the gold ring he bore, but not what it looked like. So something we didn't write down, but something that is also very apparent, is there's lots of mention of this old language of the Fae. So Reese and Amryn can read it, Emrys can read it, and Bryce can read it. Bryce, Rune, and the Autumn King can read it. So those are all the folks that can read this old archaic language of the Fae, which is very interesting and obviously crosses over to a bunch of different things.
Yes.
So that is the creature under the mountain. I think it's Koschei, but I also don't think that makes sense in terms of like timeline wise.
Yeah.
But I want it to be him.
Right.
I want it to be him, but I don't think it makes sense.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But that is that kind of crazy little crack theory. So it's a very small one, but it is a very interesting one. And then let me think. What else do we got?
Nesta.
Yeah. Samantha, which one do you want to do?
I can do the 8-pointed star.
If we do the 8-pointed star, that links into the witching, the witch stuff that we were going to talk about later.
Ooh, okay.
Wait for that one.
So
if
we'll
we
save
want to, if we want to spiral.
Okay. Okay,
We're
we
gonna
can save it.
save
Do we want to talk? How about this? Do you want to talk about the Nesta Deanna power, and then we'll do the horn and then the Asteri, and then 8-pointed star. Cool in that order. Okay. Nesta and the Silver Flame.
Am I doing that, or is Sam doing that?
It's up to you guys. I don't care.
You can do it,
Sam?
Avery.
Okay. I'm not going to argue with it. I freaking love Nesta.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Nesta's power is very, very, very closely linked to the goddess Deanna from Throne of Glass.
Yes.
So that's what we're about to delve into, just so everybody is fully prepared. Okay. So,
oh wait, hold on. Someone said, wait, how would Kochi be the monster under the mountain? So my theory was because he was trapped in a lake or around like a body of water in that sense. And also that we knew that there was, it's him, the Weaver, and the Bone Carver. They're all siblings. And they mentioned that there's another one. Right? Am I crazy on that?
I think it's just the three of them. I don't think there's another one.
Wasn't there something like mysterious? There was like another. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I vaguely remember something about like there being another creature underwater.
No, so what you're thinking of is Koschei.
It was Koschei, but they were connected.
So yeah, the bone carver and the weaver have another sibling who lives in a lake,
and that's Koschei.
And that is Koschei.
Yeah. So before we knew it was Koschei, I was pretty much convinced it was the creature under the water in Air of Fire, but
which could be the same thing.
It could still be the same thing because it's also not clear if someone were to travel, like if Aelin, let's just say, were to go back through the worlds, what's to say that the time would be future versus past? Like she could
and also
fall through in the past.
Well, and Koschei also winnows, like his power is
yes,
he can winnow other people. So like, who's to say that he can't also travel through the worlds? Like, there's possibility. Timeline wise, I get it. If you look at the timeline from a Court of Silver, or at least a Court of Mist and Fury through Silver Flames, that's like a year and a half. There's not a whole lot of time that happens there. I have the exact months. We can do that later.
Well, and I think it's just one thing that's very confusing, I think, for all of us is like, and I use Aelin as the example because she's the one that we did see fall through the world. So like she fell through the world at the end of Kingdom of Ash. If let's just say in a year's time, if she were to fall back through the world, who's to say that she would fall back in a time when Rhys wasn't born? Or like, who's to say that? So it's not clear if the timeline is always moving this way. You know, it could be moving like this. It could be moving stagnantly. It also is a little confusing because we don't know if Bryce was even around when she passed a city. We just know it was a metropolitan city that she went through.
It's wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
That's right.
We don't know.
That's right. That's the best way to describe it. Doctor Who always comes in the clutch.
I do what I can.
Yeah. Okay, so Nesta and Nesta and the power.
No.
Silver
Okay.
Flames.
Yeah. So, okay. So I actually kind of want to start with Empire of Storms because I feel like Deanna is the key here.
Yes.
I think Nesta's power is important, but Deanna is the key because I think Deanna. I have thoughts that Deanna could show up in Crescent City, but I don't have any.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah.
I don't have any proof of that, but I think if that's going to connect, I think it's going to do it through her.
Yeah.
And I also love the idea. I love the idea, which is just like a whole hypothetical that I have not delved into, that the mother is related to Mala.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So moving on.
Because there's 3, right? Isn't there 3?
So the two that are connected to Nesta are definitely the mother. It's stated, and we believe Deanna because of the cauldron stolen power.
Yes,
that's what we believe. That doesn't mean that it's true, but we're right, so it's fine.
Yeah, until we're proved otherwise,
until we're wrong, we're right.
Yeah, because I will say I remember when Samantha and I were going through Empire of Storms and we came across the line about the Silver Flames. We all kind of freaked out because we were like, "Oh my gosh, wait, hold on! I didn't realize she had Silver Flames."
And here's the best part about that is I didn't read ACOTAR until December 27th of 2020. So like I came to book talk and all of this very late. So the fact that I know as much as I do about ACOTAR is, first of all, stupid. It means that I spend way too much time on it, but it's fine. So I went in to reading Throne of Glass with the information we had from Silver Flames.
Right.
So I made that connection because I had already read Silver Flames.
Yeah.
So what I want to talk about briefly is the moon and its connection to Deanna and Nesta, and then the Silver Flames aspect and its connection to Deanna and Nesta. So first, let's talk about the moon. The only real connection to Deanna and the moon specifically is when in Empire of Storms, Rowan throws himself in front of Aelin.
Yes.
And so it says a name clanged through her as he hurled himself in the path of that fist, that moon fire, not just to save those innocents in the city, but to spare her soul from the agony if she destroyed them all. That's like one of the, Sarah, I'm going to need for you to keep it together.
Stop it. I just love my man so much. When we were working on this, I feel like we went across an Era Fire quote, and it was like, Rowan was just an ass. And it was Avery and I assumed, and I was like, oh, and she was like, Sarah, and I was like, I'm sorry.
No, because we were diligently working away on on these notes and the Crescent City notes, and Sarah just goes, "Oh, read this is when he punched her in the face."
No, he was yelling at her.
I'm so sorry.
She wanted to know how he learned how to make tattoos, and he was like, "I'm not telling you." And I was like,
Far be it for me to claim that Rowan punched Aelin in the face.
He did punch her in the face.
I know. Okay,
chef's kiss.
So that's Moonfire in relation to Deanna.
Yeah.
Now, moon, anything to do with the moon in relation to Nesta is actually in Silver Flames, and it's when when they're talking about the power that is imbued into Ataraxia.
Yeah.
So if you read the passages where they talk about the different powers that each of the made objects, the new trove, contains, they all have different things. So the Ataraxia has this moon power within it. There's one that's all anger, and then there's another one that's like, I believe, just like super cold.
Yeah.
I'd have to reread that again just to make sure I'm completely right. But talking about the moon, so Nesta let her power ripple down the blade, Ataraxia sang, blazing like the moon. So that's when she's fighting Lanthus.
Right.
And she is physically imbuing the power within her into that sword. Now that sword already has power imbued, so it's just really enhancing that imbued power, but that doesn't mean that there's not, like, she reached into herself to put power into that sword when she was going after Lanthus, because she's protecting her mate. The bitch knew, y'all. She knew. She already been knew.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay. And then also, inch by inch, the scabbard slid from the blade, and inch by inch, fresh steel glowed, truly glowed like moonlight lay within the metal. That's the other time that moon is mentioned in relation to Nesta and Ataraxia. So those are the two moon connections with Deanna and Nesta. The other connection that you can make between Deanna and Nesta is the silver fire, the power of the silver fire.
Yeah.
So talking about Nesta, the first one and the most obvious is when she has the nightmare.
Yeah.
So Nesta lay in her bed, body arched, bathed in silver fire. She was screaming, hands ripping at the sheets, and that fire burned and burned without destroying the blankets, the room, burned and writhed as if devouring her. Holy gods, Asriel breathed, first of all.
Yeah, okay, wait, hold on. You're over here giving me a hard time about my man, but your man says one word, and you're like...
Okay, but let's talk about it. Asriel.
Right.
Shadow of Death, the Shadow Singer, is saying holy God.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do want to quickly pause, because a bunch of people are saying they also want to talk about Luna from Crescent City and seeing if that also ties into a bunch of different things. So I just want to say that. And then one question, which I think we all could say yes to, is someone said Nesta stole her powers from the cauldron. If the cauldron is a portal between worlds, is it possible she stole her power from someone else? I think yes.
I think she stole it from Deanna from another world. Yes.
Yeah.
And I think there was a connection I made also that Deanna's power was stolen or something like that.
So Deanna, okay,
I think I wrote it down in here.
I always mess this up. Deanna I
didn't write it down in here.
Mab? No, that's Mala, right? Mala's Mab? One of them's Mab.
Mala is Mala.
Yes. Okay. Mab is Deanna. So Deanna is Mab. Mala is Brannon's wife. So that's why I get it. They're both connected to Aelin somehow, and I always get them confused on how they're connected. So you are right that I do think her powers could have been from the original Deanna, who then was changed to the Mab Deanna, which is what happened when she died.
Right.
So.
Correct. Okay. Yeah. So really quickly, just to run through the rest of the silver fire things, and then we'll delve into Luna.
Yeah.
Because we have thoughts about Luna.
Yeah.
Okay. So the end of that, after Asriel says holy gods, is the fire radiated cold. Cassian had never heard of such power amongst the high fae. Fire, yes, but fire with warmth, not this icy, terrible twin. Then it also says, God, I took so many quotes from Silver Flames. I am a simp. Okay. But he walked to where Silver Fire and Darkest Night battled, and he said with steady calm, Nesta. The silver fire flickered. Nesta. He could have sworn her consciousness that power shifted towards him just long enough. That is very reminiscent to me of Rowan getting in front of Aelin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very, very similar vibes.
Yeah.
And then also was that Asriel glanced to the bed and the unconscious female atop it. That was Nesta's true power, the silver fire. And then there's one other. The cold deepened. Nesta, he snarled, and the cold halted. It didn't vanish, but rather stopped. Nesta's eyes flicked open. Silver fire burned within. Nothing Fae looked out through them. The reason I pulled those quotes was they talk about how cold that silver fire is.
Yeah.
And when you read from Empire of Storms, you have and Rowan realized what the power in her hand was, realized the flame she would unleash would be so cold it burned, realized it would be cold of the stars, the cold of stolen light, not wildfire but moonfire.
Right.
Cold white light, tendrils flickered, silver flame. And then I also have Deanna is a god. She does not have rules and morals and codes the way we do. Time does not exist for her the way it does for us. You let your magic touch the key opened a door, and Deanna happened to be watching at that exact moment. That she spoke to you at all is a gift. That you managed to shove her out before she was ready. She will not soon forget that insult, Majesty. So that's just like a little Deanna.
Yeah. So
Summary.
some people are asking what happened to Deanna at the end of Throne of Glass. So Deanna, among with the rest of the gods, were thrown into a hell, double L's, not one L. We checked. Realm. So it does describe it as a hell realm. More specifically, it is the place that Aelin, I think she opened in Crown of Midnight. So it is the same place that she summoned there. I think a conversation could be had about it being potentially the same world that was opened in Crescent City. However, the demons do not match up, just to clarify that. But as Adis tells us, there are 7 layers of hell, so it could have been any of the layers of hell. And I am of the theory that I do think that the gods will appear again because they're just sitting in a hell realm. So, because I know some people are asking about where they ended up. So, she sent them to hell. They have no way of getting back to Aurelia, but they are hanging out in there.
Sarah, do you want to talk about Luna?
Yeah, I mean, I just think the biggest thing with Luna, and the thing that we should bring up, is obviously Luna is the goddess in Crescent City. We have a ton of notes about Luna in the Crescent City notes because we know, I mean, she's brought up a ton in regards to the Starborn and all of that. But I think the biggest thing is, you know, Luna is described with the 2 wolves at her feet, which has some connections to, obviously, a lot of the Fae kind of coincide with that. So, and also a lot of people feel like there might be a Fenris and Connell connection to that as well. I know. I'm like, baby Fenris.
Baby.
And baby Fenris. And yeah, so I think a case could be made that Luna is Deanna. I think the only problem is I feel like Deanna is described so much more of like saintly, whereas Luna is described very saintly, whereas Deanna is a bitch. So it's kind of like I don't really think that they're the same person, maybe of the same family in terms of like god powers, but I think just the way that Rune describes Luna and the way that Deanna is described, it doesn't line up. But it's possible.
Yeah, Deanna's tough because there's a lot of her in Crescent City, but there's not, like, there's gonna be more information, and as much as we can like theory spiral and stuff like that, there are still things that we're missing. There's still enough that we don't, I specifically, I'll speak for myself, don't feel confident enough to be like, yeah, this feels legit. There's a possibility there, but I mean, obviously you got Luna and the connection to the moon there. I mean, there's little things, but it's not fully.
I think the biggest one too, and I'm pulling it up just to confirm, but I believe Luna has arrows with her.
Yeah, I think it's like diamond tipped or something on the statue.
She does.
Gold.
She definitely does.
Oh, this is the wrong chapter. That would explain it. Nope, not that one. Is it this one? Yep, found it. Okay. Luna was carved in a golden throne, the goddess Lovely, rendered in shimmering moonstone. A silver tiara of a full moon held by 2 crescent ones graced the unswept curling hair. Sounds very similar to Manon's crown. I'm just going to throw that out there. Sandaled her feet laid twin wolves. Across the throne was a bow of solid gold and had been slung with silver quilled arrows. And then it just says some other things. So, and then it explains that both the wolves and the Fae had claimed Luna as their patron goddess and had gone to war over whom she favored a millennia ago. So unfortunately, we don't see werewolves in any of the other books, so we can't confirm the werewolf part, but it would make sense in terms of the Fae side, because obviously Deanna is connected to Mab, which then leans back to all of that. So there is a little bit of a connection there if that is where it's leaning. Okay, so let's see. What do we want to talk about next?
Somebody said that their theory is that Luna is Thea.
Oh, that would be kind of cool.
Which would be very interesting. I have a crack theory about Queen Thea and High King Finn of Prithian and the whole Starborn line.
Yeah.
So.
Just to read some of the questions that are in the Slido. So someone said maybe Valgar a universal parasite. That's kind of what I think, because Irene describes a lot about when she's I think when she's killing Erewhon, she like describes it as like a little parasite. So I would agree that I think it is like a universal parasite. We talked about that. Someone thinks that the Firebird story in Air of Fire, or it sounds a lot like Vasa. So the story, which they do sound very similar.
They do.
Okay, we'll talk about that next. Okay. This is kind of a fun one. Do you think there's a connection between Rhys and Fenris with their winnowing powers?
I selfishly want them to be connected just so Rhys has the last name of Moonbeam.
Right.
That's the only reason why.
So the thing about ACOTAR is that winnowing is not
exclusive to the Night
Court. It is used in all courts, depending on your level of power.
Yeah.
Right.
So could Fenris be connected to Rhys through winnowing? Yes, technically, but he could also, in that same vein, technically be connected to anyone in Prithian who has power strong enough to winnow.
Yeah.
So,
I think there's a lot of. I feel like we would all agree that there is a lot of connections in terms of. There's certain, like Lorcan is a great example of like someone with shadowy abilities, and people automatically think he's connected to Az or to Rhys because of that. But I think looking over the abilities in Throne of Glass, it's a little different in terms of how they get their powers. So it could just be an elemental power of that family line.
Yeah. These are more elemental.
Yeah.
It's fine. There are only 19 theories in this document. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna. Do we want to talk about the Autumn King really quick in the elemental? I'm like, what's a quicker one? I guess I feel like the Asteri one is gonna take us a minute, so I'm trying to do what's a really quick one we could talk about.
Okay, hold on. I'm looking at the. Are we talking about under most obscure?
No, most likely.
I could. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the Horn and the Dead trope we could be really quick on.
I think we could probably really quickly combine High King Finn, Gwydion, and the Horn.
Yeah.
Like boom, boom, boom.
I was going to say, I don't understand that the High King thing, so you're going to have to explain that to me.
Okay. You can start that.
Yeah, you can start that. I know the Horn and the Dead trope.
Yeah.
So what I will do is so it's a 3-part theory, and they're all connected, but they all have a lot of evidence to support each of them.
Okay.
So I'm just going to run through the whole thing, and then you guys can take over explaining it.
Yeah.
Okay. So have to scroll.
You could just click on the headers.
I know. Okay. You think of these things after, Sarah. Right. This is the problem. Okay. So High King Finn in the Starborn line. So we know from A Court of Silver Flames that there was once a High King of Prithian, and his name was High King Finn. I'm saying Finn, it's spelled Fionn. Cool.
Yeah.
It could be Fionn. That sounds stupid, so I'm saying Finn. Really quickly, things that connect. Basically, the overarching theory is High King Finn, the High King of Prithian, had a queen who betrayed him with his general, and they took sacred objects away with them. The theory is that High King Finn was married to Queen Thea from Crescent City, and she left with Prince Peleus, who was the general.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they came through the Northern Rift in the crossing, word gate, and brought with them the Star Sword and the Horn, which in our theory basically is Gwydion from High King Finn, because the Star Sword and Gwydion both are black blades. And the Star Sword needs another black knife, truth teller, to work. And then the other thing is the horn. And the horn came with Queen Thea and Prince Peleus, which we know from Crescent City, because Prince Peleus was of the Starborn line.
Yes.
And basically that's how he was able to use the horn. And the theory is that the horn is the missing piece of the dread trove that Nesta sees in A Court of Silver Flames in her vision with Lanthus.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how in the world that looks like aged bone, I don't know. But I'll let somebody else talk about that.
Yeah.
Basically, all of that is to say that the text evidence that supports Queen Thea and Prince Peleus being somewhat connected to the queen and general who betrayed the High King of Prythian and left with sacred objects connects very, very clearly to the story of Prince Peleus and Queen Thea, and how Queen Thea also had Starborn power and a daughter named Helena and another daughter who's never mentioned.
Yes.
Suspicious.
Yeah. So someone said, wasn't this also a Starborn? Isn't it that what Adis implies? Yes. So it is implied in Crescent City when Rune is in the gallery with Bryce and Hunt, when he's looking at the books, that he discovers that there was a lot of Starborn Fae, and he didn't realize that at the time. And so it's kind of like a revelation. I think at the time he thought it was just going to be from like one family essentially, but it is clear that it is not like a family thing. It could have just been like maybe like a court thing, very similar to how certain courts get certain abilities. So I think that is kind of where this all lends itself to potentially being related to ACOTAR.
It's also important to note that Rune feels more connected to his shadow magic and the Ovalin Fae than he does to his Starborn magic. And though he was gifted the Star Sword in his trials, it called to Bryce. The Star Sword called to Bryce and recognized her as kin. So,
So it in this theory, it implies that basically the Fae that went over in the crossing are ones from thousands of years before any of this happened on ACOTAR, essentially.
Right, but we know that it's like what 15,000+ years, because basically Queen Thea. I'm calling her Queen Thea, but the Queen and the General betray High King Finn.
Yes.
Amren comes over.
Yeah.
Everything is plunged into darkness.
Yeah.
While she's in the prison, she comes back out, and Prythian is being ruled by the 7 High Lords in the courts, and there's never been a High King since.
Yes.
High King Lulu. Okay, now I'm done.
Well, and the one thing I do want to say, because a lot of people bring up, do they think that Amren is connected to the angels in Crescent City? And unfortunately, the answer is no, because Sarah J. Maas confirmed in a book tour that Amren is of a biblical angel, which is different from the Asteri angels who were created by the Asteri. So while she's not of the same angelic being, I guess, there probably is a small connection in like a textbook or something.
Very clearly, I still hate it.
I mean, I would love for Amren to be like related to Hunt, or like, like
right?
Yeah.
Surprise.
Yeah, but Amren also comes out of the cauldron with like, she looks like a phoenix. Right. So it's very different, which kind of sucks. But my favorite part of the theory is, which is like the part that I just love, is that the horn, you described it, Nesta sees it, or Nesta sees an object of bone, and a horn can be made of bone. And I think the reason Nesta doesn't see it is because at that point it's grinded up into Bryce's body, and so it's no longer an object.
An unmade
object. Now it's just Bryce. Bryce is the object, which I constantly think about, like, if she, like, when she dies, like, what are the Fae gonna do? Like, the object's done.
I don't know. She's immortal. She can live for freaking ever.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Okay, one of the worst things in the world, just because Quinlar is endgame in my book, and again, I will say it, until I'm wrong, I'm right. So, Quinlar is in game, and angels do not live as long as Fae, and that drives me insane.
But she's only half Fae, so it'll be fine.
I know, but it's still insane.
I mean, it's the same thing with Rowan and Aelin. Rowan lived for like 300 years before Aelin settled, and so now they're kind of in a weird situation. They'll fade together. It's essentially what will happen. So
either that or one of them will die and the other's like, all right, bye.
Well, it'll be Rowan. Rowan will die and Aelin will be like, okay, have fun. I'll see you in like 300 years. Yeah. Someone said, do you think, I thought Starborn Fae were only a part of Avalon. I think the Star Sword was on the Isle, which is what...
That is correct. Yeah.
Rune did his trial thingy and went and got it.
I'm so excited about going to Avalon.
Here's the thing. Freaking Rune.
My baby.
Honestly, Sky and Breath is going to be lit because that is Hunt and that is Rune and that is it's going to be so good.
Yeah, we're here for it. Okay. So we talked about the horn. What do you guys... Oh, Autumn King, Quartz, Elemental Fae. Let's just go right into that. So obviously anyone who reads Crescent City after reading ACOTAR probably goes, WTF, Autumn King? Because I think we all had a moment of being like, please pause, explain this because it's a little confusing. And then when you get farther into the book and she describes, I think it's Bryce describes that there are 8 Fae courts, and one of them is of the Avalon Fae of the Stag King, who is... let me tell you, I just need one of them to shapeshift into an animal and I will be so happy. So, and then it is also described, which we did put this in the notes, I believe it's Declan, one of them, has like nature magic. And I was like,
yes.
What? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so like... the Fae used to be very elemental based. I think they all are elemental based, but they used to be much more powerful in it. And now, as 15,000 years have been going on, they're not as powerful anymore.
In addition to that, in A Court of Silver Flames, on page 442, Cassian forced himself to sit perfectly still as Reese dragged a hand through his black hair. Once the High Fae were more elemental, more given to reading the stars and crafting masterpieces of art and jewelry and weaponry. Their gifts were raw, more connected to nature.
Yeah. So it kind of implies a little bit that they're and yeah, someone said they're super elemental in Throne of Glass. They are. Rowan's got the ice powers, Aelin's got the fire, Lorcan has death magic, Fenris is winnowing. like everyone just has some sort of very I think who is it? Ramel has like she can translate anything. Like they're just very kind of all over the map in terms of abilities. Chelsea made a good point. She said she wonders if Bryce can pass the horn to a child, which would be very cool. Like if the horn can be passed. I also have this personal theory, which we didn't really talk about this, but I'm sure you guys both remember in ACOTAR, at the very beginning, and Nesta and Elaine both wear iron jewelry because they think that is immune to Fae, which iron is immune to the Throne of Glass Fae. Then we find out it ends up being ash in ACOTAR, ashwood. So I have this personal theory that part of the reason the elementals in Crescent City are so messed up is because we're intermixing different Fae lines of like different weaknesses, and so that's what's causing a little bit of issue. But that is just a crazy thought that I have, because I think it's weird.
I could buy that.
Why would they bring up iron in ACOTAR if it's not tied to it at all?
Right, because even in Crescent City, Bryce has not issue, but like she feels the iron door of Griffin Antiquities. Like it affects her.
I think there's lots of references to iron in Crescent City.
That's just the one that stands out the most.
Yeah.
Because there's not obviously iron is not immune in ACOTAR, but it is a big weakness of Throne of Glass, and it is a weakness protection in Crescent City. So it's a very interesting discovery.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else for the Autumn King Quartz Elemental Fae?
I don't think so.
Okay, cool. What do you guys want to do next? Oh, we talked.
I think you should talk about. I think you should talk about your. I think we should just move straight into the crack.
Okay. The only thing I'm gonna leave before we move into the crack is I do want to, just because I am so gung ho on this, the Asteri being Valg.
Oh yes.
Because I feel like when Samantha and I were going through the notes, we would constantly come across lines when regarding the Valg and being like, this is a little fishy. This sounds a little like Crescent City. And the ones that pop into my head are like, obviously we don't know a lot about the Asteri in Crescent City, but when Regulus speaks at the very end, his voice is described in a certain way, which is very similar to how Erewhon's voice is described in Kingdom of Ash. Maeve at one point at the very end of Kingdom of Ash brings up the fact that that they're not all inherently evil, that they just are traveling worlds and taking over. So it implies that it could be them. And I think just the biggest one is the fact that like the way the Asteri are acting is very similar to just Valg. Like they're trying to take over, they're trying to suppress anything that could oppose their leading, I guess. So yeah, anything else you guys have on that? Anything else you guys want to say?
There was also the mention of like, so they created the angels, right, in Crescent City. But then when we talked in Akasif about Lanthus, there was a whole like paragraph about him when Cassian was telling Nesta everything, and how they, like, his people created the bogey or bow.
Oh yeah.
And then in Throne of Glass, we know the Valg created witches, and then, you know, those other little creatures, whatever they are. But I think they're one of the only things, Valg, across the board that can like create other races, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or at least it's the only one that's been talked about, really.
Because jog my memory. So the spiders that Maeve has that are like her handmaidens, did she make them, or were they just of her world that they were her handmaidens?
If I remember correctly, she brought them with her.
Did she make them? Or that's not, maybe she didn't, she just brought them.
I've only read Throne of Glass once. You're the expert.
I don't remember it being mentioned that they were made.
Because were they always spiders? I know this is in Tower of Dawn.
I know, and that's like my book.
I know. That's why I'm like, I know that they were mentioned. We'll have to look, but I know that the spiders.
What am I looking for?
It's in Tower of Dawn. It's the
Karankuru.
They're saying that they weren't made, but
the what?
Just the princesses. Type it. Ooh, yeah.
The Karankuru is probably what it'll be under.
I don't know how to spell that.
How do you spell that?
Khan or no?
No, I think you put KH. KHA.
Yeah, just KH.
KHA and see what comes up.
Yeah.
Well, we've got the Kagan in here, so that's going to be a lot.
Hold on. It's
pause.
Dog spiders.
Guys, this is what a spiral looks like.
KHARA.
Yeah, there you go.
And KUI. How did she come up with this word? I genuinely.
That's not real. Okay. Huh. 31. There are 36 results.
Yes.
About where in the book am I looking?
It's the middle end. It's with Nesta. Wait, hold on.
Nesrin.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
I was
Nesrin.
like,
why did I say Nesta?
I was like, I am in the wrong book. Okay.
I know, I have every Throne of Glass book around me except for Tower of Dawn. So I was like, this is
I have it pulled up. So I'm in 31 right now.
Yeah.
If our stirring
they were created by her.
There we go. More proof.
Yeah.
It says it on the Wikipedia page, so I'm gonna go with it.
I'm good with it. I'm sure that's probably towards the end then, where we know that like they're made by her, because that's when we find out she's Valg.
Yeah. So there's the Stygian spiders, which are in Rune Mountains. And then there's
Rune Mountain.
Rune Mountain.
Rune Mountains. Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, one of the mountains in Terrace, I think it's part of the Terracin territory, is the Rune Mountains, but it has 2 N's, not 1 N, like Rune Danon. So just to...
Well, and also the library in Tower of Dawn is Balrune.
Yes.
That's 1 N.
Yes. Which that library in Tower of Dawn is connected to things.
It's got Tower of Dawn, I think, is the major connecting point and has a lot of information that we kind of gloss over because we're trying to get back to like the Aelin big battle thing.
Yeah. Well, and I think you were the one that brought to me what we discussed. I remember when we were going through Tower of Dawn, the fact that a lot of the witch, like the stuff that the healers go through in their training is awfully similar to what we see Hypexia do in Crescent City.
Right. Yeah.
So it's very
I
interesting.
love Hypaxia so much.
She's the best.
I just need to say it.
She's the queen.
Yeah.
She's my witch queen.
Okay.
So that's always a really fun one. We talked briefly that we all believe that the Northern Rift, which is described in Crescent City as all of the, I want to say the Vanir come over through that. We believe that's a word gate. I think that's a very obvious. I would almost put that in most obvious because she has described word gates as being like doors to other dimensions. And so I can't imagine it being called something else at this point. So, okay. I'm going to go through some of the comments before we do our crazy crack theories because some of these are more...
Because the big spiral is going to be witches and priestesses and witch queens, oh my, and the 8-pointed star.
Yeah. Okay, so someone asked, do you think that Rhys and Rune are related to each other? Their origins are so similar to not have them be related. So a lot of people believe because of Rune's ability, telepathy ability, and his shadow abilities, he is either related to Rhys or to Lorcan. Or, sorry, not Lorcan. Rhys or Azriel. Mm-hmm. But I'm of the opinion he's related to Lorcan.
Sarah's convinced me that he's related to Lorcan, so I'm on board.
Yeah.
I lean more towards Az just because we don't know a lot about his mom yet.
That's fair. That's
like, and how, you know, that felt very reminiscent of Rune's whole situation with the mom, like being off to the side somewhere.
Yeah. I am of the opinion that it is Rune and Lorcan because of his, to me, of the very, very short amount of time we've seen of Az's shadow abilities, they are they seem very sentient, where like they just have their own personality, and Lorcan's shadow abilities don't have that same, and neither does Rune's. It doesn't feel very like he summons them, brings them into the room type of situation. And then in regards to his telepathy ability, so Rhys has Daemonti powers, which is similar to winnowing, where it's not tied to a specific court. But Daemonti, he can manipulate what someone is believing. He can read their minds. He can go into their mind. There's a lot of different things with the Daemonti. Whereas Rhys describes multiple times, or not Rhys, sorry, Rune says multiple times, he cannot read minds. He can only speak into people's minds, and then they can speak back to him, essentially. But he can't just like go into someone's mind and read it. So, in fact, he corrects people multiple times in Crescent City when they ask him if they can read his mind. He's like, it's telepathy, not mind reading. Like, so I do think he's tied to one of the two, whether it's Rhys and Az or Lorcan, but I'm holding on firm that it is Lorcan because it's tied to the Avalon Fae and the Stag King. So I'm going to stake that until I'm proven wrong, which is most likely. So, so yeah. At one point, Rune's shadows form in the shape of wings, I think. They do, yeah. So his shadows are very like. I think the few times Rune's powers, too many R's. The one time Rune's powers are described, it's very like to me it kind of felt like a mist like around him, whereas I feel like Lorcan's are like literal like eely shadowy things around his body. So also just want to quickly say that Sarah J. Maas is the thing for our names for Fae princes because we have Reese, Rune, and Rowan, and we don't need another R.
I'm good.
Okay, let me see if we have anything else. So, we can talk a little bit about the Lorcan. We just kind of did talk a little bit about the Lorcan theory. Does anyone here feel like Lorcan could be tied to the Night Court? I know that's a theory people tend to throw out.
I'm not disregarding it yet.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
Until we get more information in Asriel's book on that, I am withholding judgment.
Yeah, same.
Because Asriel will have a book. It will be the next book, and I will riot otherwise.
If it's not next book, it'll be the book after. So it'll be, I know. Okay.
I'm already waiting too long.
I know. Do you think the Eighth Court, the harp, and the people trapped in the walls are relevant? Yes, I think they're all connected to Crescent City, right?
Yeah,
oh my God. That whole thing
gonna come up.
I really feel like the whole situation that happened in the prison is tied to the Northern Rift and the Crossing. I think we're going to find out a lot about that in Crescent City too. And then I think that's going to come up in Elaine's book when she conquers the prison.
I know you're really convinced on this prison thing. I'm not really sold on it, but I'll let you have it.
It's okay. It's the Three Sisters, Three Mountains theory. It's a whole thing. But like a lot of people also who hate Elaine, which I don't hate Elaine.
Right.
I love Aleutian. I really need to just be very specific about that. Because I don't want anybody coming for my head. I love Elaine. She
is boring. She's boring. She's boring. Let's be honest.
She's not boring. She's not boring.
She's gonna
she hasn't had enough time yet.
Yeah,
she's not boring.
She's boring.
Underdeveloped.
She's boring right now.
Not a chance.
She's it's the Iliad effect. If we never had an Iliad point of view, we would all think Iliad is boring. But with the fact but then we got an Iliad point of view and we were like, holy crap, she's extremely interesting. She's super fascinating. Well, so it's the same thing with Elaine.
And you and I have talked about it. One of my favorite moments in A Court of Silver Flames is when Nesta calls Elaine a bitch and Elaine starts laughing, because it was one of the first moments I was like, I get this person. Okay, I can get behind this. But here's the thing. SJM needs to spend time on Elaine for me to care about her story.
Right.
And she is setting up for Elaine to do big things in A Court of Silver Flames, but she is not giving Elaine the time she needs.
Yeah.
The blue tabs are Asriel, the pink tabs are Elaine. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
The
next book is Asriel. It's got to be Asriel.
Right.
I've changed my opinion slightly in that I think a more novella is going to fall between an Asriel book and an Elaine book, because I think the unrequitedness of Mor and Asriel and the connection that Eris has to Lucian is a good bridge between the two books.
Well, and I'm of the opinion I'm ready to be proven wrong about Elaine being boring. Like right now, I find her very boring, but there is so much potential with her that I'm keeping the expectation low because I want her to succeed.
I'm just waiting. Because I like Elaine, and I'm waiting because of the Elite thing.
Yeah.
And she's the one that stabbed Hybern.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
People forget that.
Right.
It's a whole thing I rage about. Rage about it on
meme of the big bad guy and Thor Ragnarok and Elaine who likes gardening comes out and stabs him.
Yeah. No, I have a whole. So honestly, the amount of people on TikTok who are just like, Cassian's gonna die, literally drives me up a wall.
He saved him.
To the point where I have literally yelled twice on TikTok about people. I'm like, guys, Elaine saved them. It's already happened.
Yeah.
And she saved it.
That's the thing.
She has the ability. She has the power to change the future.
Yeah. Well,
Elaine.
That was into my witch theory.
Right. I was gonna say she's convinced that Elaine could be a witch. Right?
I'm down.
I think the Archeron sisters are witches.
I love that. I'm gonna need for you to talk more about that.
It's in the spiral section.
Okay, yeah.
Good.
When we're gonna spiral because we're gonna go crazy. Okay, I'm gonna go really quick with my Amryn, Varian, and Reese one because I can do that in about 2 seconds and it makes no sense whatsoever. So completely erasing everything you talked about in terms of Queen Thea and Prince Pelias because this is totally different. So, so I was reading, for anyone who doesn't know, if you look up some of the names that Sarah J. Maas names as her characters, you can kind of quickly piece together what or who they are. Like Maeve, obviously there's, you know, a lot of history around the name Maeve. There's a lot of history around the name Mab and all of this stuff. So I did a little research and I discovered that Peleus is a name tied to Poseidon, and it is specifically, so it's tied to the water. And a lot of people have a theory on the opposite end of, so some people believe that Queen Thea and all of them come from like 15,000 years past Akatar. Some people believe that it could be present and then it's 15,000 years post is where Crescent City is. So this is going with the post one, not the past one. Prince Peleus tied to Poseidon. I love the idea of it somehow being tied to Amryn and Varian because Varian is the guard of the Summer Court, and obviously Amryn is extremely powerful. And so if we're going off the theory that the Starborn line is the start of Rhys and Feyre's children because of Feyre's Starborn abilities from the Day Court, right? Okay, I get the day and dawn confused. So Day Court. Okay. That it is a recent
spell breaking and glowing is day.
Yeah.
Healing is dawn.
There we go. Okay. So Queen Thea is either Feyre and Rhys's grandchild, doesn't matter. And then their granddaughter is Helena, and then the prince is Amryn and Varian's child.
Which does not help with the fan theory at all.
It makes no sense, guys. I just was like, well, if we're all gonna think that it's Rhys and Feyre's kid, let's just tie in Amryn and Varian. So
why not?
It makes no sense. Like, I think the chances of this actually happening are less than 1%, but I think it's a funny spiral anyways.
Yeah, why not?
Oh, people are asking who's Helena. Helena is Queen Thea's daughter.
Yes, she is also the only daughter of Queen Thea's 2 daughters that is named and listed as having Starborn power.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't remember, this is going back to when Rune is explaining the history of the Starborn line. This is where Queen Thea and Peleus, that's where that all comes from. So this is a Crescent City thing. Okay, so that's just my crazy crack theory, which makes no sense. So you guys can go ahead.
Are we doing now?
So
Witches?
I think we have to start.
Do you want to start with the witches?
I think so. The way you and I connected everything when I came into the Discord and you had your meltdown post the night that I called you and you were mad that I called you.
Yes.
Yes. Is we started with the 8-pointed star.
Yes.
And that devolved into priestesses, which then devolved into the blue blood witches, which then devolved further. So,
8-pointed star. Explain where the 8-pointed star is in all the books.
So the 8-pointed star is brought up in every single one of SJM's series, at least once. I'm going to the top and clicking it because that's just easy.
That's fine.
Okay. So I'm going to give you all of them. So you have everything.
Yeah.
And then because we're going to end with Throne of Glass, and Throne of Glass is what's going to tie in the priestesses, which will tie into the witches, which I'm going to let Sam take over at that point because she is the end all be all on witch lore.
Yeah.
Your girl can't do it.
Yeah. I was like, yeah.
You ask me anything related to Nesta, Nessian, or Gwenriel, I got you. Witches, this girl right here.
Yeah, don't ask us.
Okay, so the 8-pointed star is brought up in A Court of Silver Flames. I very specifically looked mostly at A Court of Silver Flames for most of these series because that is the spin-off series. That is what she's working on now. Technically, though Akatar is canon, it is complete, and she's not really working off of that anymore. So there's things we can pull from there, but her new stuff is is really kind of where I'm focusing. So silver flames. Number one, the tattoo, the bargain tattoo between Nesta and Cassian. It's an 8-pointed star whose compass points radiated in sharp lines up the groove of his back, twining with the Illyrian markings. The eastern and western points of the star shot onto his wings, and a matching one he knew was on Nesta's spine. Then there was no trace of that smug satisfaction now, as Cassian said to them, I thought today would be a good day to integrate the 8-pointed star. But if you're already complaining, we can wait until next week. We're not complaining, Gwen said. You're just running us ragged. I had to throw Gwen in there because she's my girl. Enough history. He drew 4 lines in the dirt, all intersecting to form an 8-pointed star. This is your map for striking a sword. These 8 maneuvers. You've learned 6 of them. Now, I think that's interesting. Remember how I told you I connect a 6-pointed star?
Oh, there you go.
Well done.
Good job.
I do try. Okay.
Wait, when was the 6-pointed star in?
I don't remember, but you were like, it's 6 points, not 8. And I was like, don't worry, I got you.
I don't remember what book that was.
I don't remember. I think
There was
Crescent City.
there was a 6-pointed star. Oh, wait, is it the witches?
Yes.
Oh,
it's to do
yeah.
with them. Yes.
Okay.
Nesta paused before the harp. Now, this is important because the harp is what we know will travel.
Yes.
It will move you.
Yes.
Nesta pointed before the harp, the wards pressing into her skin as she surveyed its golden frame and silver strings. Gold and silver, Sarah. Gold and silver. The harp sat atop a large rendering of an 8-pointed star. Its cardinal points stretched longer than the other 4, with the harp situated directly in the heart of the star. Now, what's interesting is that this is a golden point in the middle of a bunch of constellations, which sounds very much like the thing that Rune is looking at when the Autumn King needs to use his Starborn power, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Cool.
Someone quickly, they corrected me. It's Crescent City with the gates, not
Cool.
6-pointed
right.
stars. So just
Thank
want to throw
you.
that in there. Yep.
So there's your 6 points. It's the first six strikes that the Valkyries learned. You're welcome.
Yep.
Okay. Hey, we're in most obscure. I told you this is where I live.
Yeah, this is where we're like, I don't know, throw it in there.
Maybe it's fine. It'll work.
It's like not connected at all, but
like this. You know when you're like testing whether or not your spaghetti is ready and you throw it at the wall to see if it'll stick?
Yes.
That's what I'm doing right now. I'm just chucking spaghetti at the wall trying to make it stick.
Yeah.
Okay. People are never gonna eat dinner with me. They're like, what? Okay.
Oh my god.
Guys, this is not non-alcoholic.
I know. I was like, I should have made an alcoholic drink. We talked about that, and I just didn't.
Ma'am, you found the wine.
I know. I left it downstairs.
Oh my god. Yell at your mom. Ask her to bring it up.
No, I don't want it coming up here.
Fair. Okay. Sorry. Also, a side effect of spiraling, for those of you who don't know, is random tangents that mean nothing, and then you have to come back to what you were originally talking about.
Yeah. So okay, so 8-pointed star. Focus on the 8-pointed star.
8-pointed star. Okay, we're in Crescent City now. We've gone through Silver Flames. Okay. The illustration of the carved horn lifted to the lips of a helmeted Fey male was as pristine as it had been when inked millennia ago. Above the figure gleamed an 8-pointed star, the emblem of the Starborn.
Mm-hmm.
He looked down at her chest then as if he glimpsed it shimmering beneath her skin. But when his eyebrows flicked upward, Bryce followed his line of sight. Well, she said with a sigh, that's new. Indeed, just visible down the V-neck of her t-shirt, a white splotch, an 8-pointed star now scarred the place between her breasts.
Wait, are those two quotes back to back?
No.
Okay, good, because I did not piece together that that's why she had the 8-pointed star on her chest.
Sarah!
Oh, but that's why people think Nesta and Cassian might be the start of the Starborn. That's how it started.
Yeah, totally down.
Sorry,
I didn't
Night Court. I didn't realize.
Okay,
keep going.
Okay, so that's it. That's it for Crescent City. So now, Sam, are you ready?
Okay.
Oh my God.
So basically, I'm like spiraling this night when I call Sarah.
Yeah, I was really tired. It was at the end of our first part of Crescent City recaps. I'm like crying. I'm laughing so hard. I didn't realize, and she's calling me at like midnight.
Okay. First of all, it was not midnight.
It was like 11:30.
Okay, fine.
I can check the text.
Please go for it. But basically, so you had finished your live and we got on a video call after because Izzy and I were talking about the 8-pointed star.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, you and I got on a call and talked about the 8-pointed star with May. Was it May? It was May.
12:30. I just 12:30.
Wait. No. Because the 8-pointed star came right after your live and we were talking with May for a while. And then we hung up the phone and I got on a call with Izzy and that's when we figured out the Gwydion thing and that's when I called you late.
Okay, you see how it says 12:21 a.m.? Just want to make sure everyone sees that I'm not crazy.
Which, by the way, friends, is 1:21 a.m. my time.
Yeah, because I was like, I'm going to bed. But
okay.
I didn't. Anyways, go on.
Okay, so basically, May from Bookishly May on TikTok, who, if you don't follow her, also follow her because she's great. Sarah and I are on a video call, post her live because she finds the 8-pointed star she mentions it in her live and goes, Avery, isn't that? And I go, hang on, I'm spiraling. And I literally spiraled for the remainder of her recap. Like poor Sam was having to intercept messages from me to Sarah because I didn't have a way to comment on the YouTube.
Yeah, and I was not paying attention.
Not at all.
There's a lot. Anyway, look, there's a lot of monitors and a lot of things going on right now while I'm live. So, like, forgive me if I can't find where the message is.
At that point, we hadn't shared like phone numbers either, so I wasn't able to text her. So,
yeah.
Anyways, I digress. Basically, we're on this video call and we are like, okay, well, it's definitely in A Court of Silver Flames and it's definitely in Crescent City. Could it be in Throne of Glass? So then I did my thing that I do where I take all of my digital copies in my lovely little Kindle here. And I basically searched 8-pointed star in every single digital copy of Throne of Glass, starting with Kingdom of Ash.
See, that's why it's better to have the copy that Sam has, which is just one giant book.
The bundle, so you can just search them all. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, that wasn't available to me. So until much later, and I already owned them all. So it's fine. I just have a problem. Anyways, so basically we land on Throne of Glass and 8-pointed star is mentioned one time in Throne of Glass.
Is it in book one? I don't remember where it's mentioned.
It is. And what's interesting about it, I'm going to read you the quote and then I'm going to tell you all of the connections we made. And then Sam gets to spiral about the blue blood witches and how they are connected to this situation. So the high priestess walked onto the stone platform and raised her hands above her head. The folds of her midnight blue gossamer robe fell around her and her white hair, which sounds a whole hell of a lot like Jezebel Roga and Meryl to me, but that's fine, was long and unbound. An 8-pointed star was tattooed upon her brow in the shade of blue that matched her gown, its sharp lines extending to her hairline. What does that sound like to you Crescent City readers? Does that maybe sound like a slave halo made by the witches in Pangera?
Yeah.
Maybe, possibly.
To backtrack it a little bit, this quote, for anyone who's wondering, is from I think it's from Yule Miss. So this is when they're I'm pretty sure this is from Yule Miss. This is when they're Kale and her right before they fall asleep in the church, because that's what it is. And then and then the little acolyte comes and gives her the bow.
The arrow.
Yeah, the arrow.
Vienna's bow, yeah.
So
and it says, welcome all, and may the blessings of the goddess and all her gods be upon you. Her voice echoed across the chamber to reach even those in the back. And that's the end of the quote. So We're talking about a blue-robed priestess
a dark blue robe.
Yes, midnight blue. With a tattoo of an 8-pointed star that goes across her forehead, in very much in the same way that the slave tattoos go across as a halo to all of the fallen in Crescent City. Now, basically, Sarah and I took this and I was like, well, she's got white hair, which is like Meryl and Jezebel is like a witch. And then there's also like that time that Nesta called Meryl a witch. And then maybe there's like something to do with the witches, but like what witches? Like, how are blue robes and witches connected? And I mean, guys, it took us way too long to make the connection.
Yeah, this is why we have Samantha, because the two of us are like
the blue ones?
No, and then I mean, I swear to God, it was like easily 20 minutes of us just like, I don't know. And then Sarah goes, it's the blue bloods. And I went, it's the blue bloods. And then basically we sent that in a chat on Discord and it devolved. So Sam, please talk to us about the blue blood witches and how this could possibly connect.
Yeah.
Okay. So blue blood witches, that is Petra, that we're most familiar with from Throne of Glass. I think they were always more like I don't want to say, not necessarily regal, but like the more kind of like elegant of the three. And I think it was I can't remember what the band was that Petra wore. Was it just
I'll pull it up.
silver?
It's very similar or reminiscent to me of the Invoking Stones and Ianthe.
Yes.
And
yes.
that.
I think they're very similar to all the priestesses because what's in ACOTAR, I just blanked on her name. What's the crazy priestess that
Meryl?
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
Ianthe.
Ianthe.
Yeah.
She has
this is the notes from that night, by the way. Just so everybody's aware.
So Ianthe has, I believe, a tattoo of like the crescent moons across her forehead, if I'm remembering correctly.
It's something to do. We have I have written in here, just Samantha, so you can further clarify.
Yeah.
Blue blood matron, same barbed band.
Okay, it's barbed.
Stars across. So the blue blood matron, who is essentially like Palmenon's grandmother, is the Black Beak. I can't say their names. Black Beak matron. Petra is the heir to the blue blood matron. So
it says in Air of Fire, just to kind of explain, it says blue bloods did forest and cave rituals in which pain was the gateway to magic and to opening their senses. They were a lot of oracles, mystics, and zealots. And then I'm just trying to find something about the crown, so keep going. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I was just looking to see if there's anything else about him.
But so the witches, the blue bloods in particular, seem to be related to priestesses in some way. Like they've got similar vibes going on. And when we started talking about this, it made me think of Hypaxia.
Yep.
And how she appears at the summit, because I think she's wearing blue robes, if I remember right.
She is.
I can't. Is she wearing a crown? When she?
Yes.
I can't remember. I wasn't focusing on that. But I mean, we know that she, she's witch queen, right? Or high witch, whatever she is now. She's got the robes, and she is the one that, removes Hunt's little band thing. So she knows like that kind of magic and is able to do that kind of magic witch spell forehead tattoo thing.
It is a red and gold crown of cloudberries.
Haven't spiraled on that yet.
Yeah, I'm just like there you go.
I don't think I can spiral on that.
Yeah, I'm just letting you know that's what she's wearing. So
yeah. It is not a crown of stars, very unfortunately.
No.
Because if it was a crown of stars, we would have all fallen
would have been perfect. Or if it looked like Manon's crown or something.
I know.
Yeah.
That kind of sucks. I wish it was Manon's. Okay. Anyway, sorry.
So what part do we want to spiral on with that?
I think it's just the big thing is that we didn't realize that the Hypexia, the Blue Bloods, and obviously the witches in ACOTAR all wear blue robes, especially specifically Hypexia and the Blue Bloods wear dark blue robes, which is very interesting. And all of them have some sort of tattoo across their brow, whether it be a barbed wire, stars and moons, crescents. It doesn't matter. They're all somehow connected.
Now, what's very interesting is in A Court of Silver Flames, witches are mentioned as existing in the middle near the Bog of Orid. So they are listed along with light singers and kelpies and all of that. I think it's interesting to note that the blue blood witches are more closely related to the priestesses of ACOTAR, but there are other witches described that to me seem more along the lines of the Yellow Legs clan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think what's interesting about it, and this is again like going back to the witches of Thorn Glass, but like they're specifically the Iron Teeth witches are very much, there's a very distinct difference between each clan, and it's what's interesting is I would think that the Blue Bloods are, I find it fascinating that Blue Bloods are the ones that we mostly see the connection with, not Kraken, who we rarely even touched upon, but because I think the one kind of, I wouldn't say flaw, because we don't necessarily, I don't think any of us believe that they're all the same type of witches, because obviously Iron Teeth have iron nails and teeth, but there is some sort of connection in the fact that they all wear these robes and have similar bindings on their heads, which is very interesting across the different worlds.
Yeah.
Someone said maybe maybe these bands the priestesses wear are kind of symbols, like they're slaves to the gods, and that this is derived from the slave tattoos of Crescent City.
Potentially. There's somebody said in the YouTube chat, I don't know if you've seen it, but Feyre's ring also references a 6-pointed star in Akmath.
Oh yeah.
Which is the star sapphire. It has 6 points.
Yeah. And then also I think I never really realized the white hair connection. And obviously it's really hard to spiral about Jezebel because we don't know a whole lot about her, but I think we all noticed in the reread that she doesn't describe herself as a witch but a sorceress, and she corrects people on that. And
well, she defected from the witches.
Right, but you would still think she would call herself a witch because she's still like a witch, but so there is something there in terms of maybe magic. We're not really sure, I should say.
Yeah, I think it's related to her relationship with Adis, which we do know that there is a relationship of some kind with Adis. I'm not suggesting necessarily that it's romantic, but there is a connection that she has with Adis, and I think we're gonna find out more of that, especially if there are hellhounds involved. Dear God in heaven.
Right. Okay. Really quickly, the Great Library of Parthos. I'm gonna do this one like very loosely, not go into all the details. I'm just gonna say that I think we all think that the Great Library of Parthos is somehow connected to these, obviously with the books being shown in that library. Whether it is a connection to the Terrasen Library, whether it is a connection to the library in Tower of Dawn, or even the libraries in ACOTAR, did anyone feel a strong connection one way or the other?
The only connection I can make with any kind of like significance is that Parthos is Illyrian. When you look up the word Parthos, it is related to Illyria or Illyrians, which obviously we know is
the Night Court.
ACOTAR and the Night Court. So I do think that there is a relation between the Great Library of Parthos and potentially the library that is under the House of Wind. But I don't know what that connection would be or how that would necessarily work.
Yeah.
So
I lean a little more towards Tower of Dawn.
Sure.
Just because I feel like that library had the most diverse collection of books, also because there was Fae that had lived there at one point. But we don't know a whole lot about Illyria. I was hoping we would find out more about it in Silver Flames. So it is a very possible.
I think it might be interesting to deal with in an Asriel book, considering he hates his Illyrian heritage so much. I think that there's Illyria and Illyrians, I think, are going to play a big role in his book, especially considering his mother is still alive. And I don't know how people have it in their heads that Azriel is anything other than a full-blooded Illyrian, but I'm going to need for them to figure that out because what?
Yeah.
Like people have been arguing in my comments before about how Azriel and Gwen can't work because the wing argument, the baby wing argument is null and void because she is part nymph and half fae, and like he is, because he's like half Illyrian or whatever, the likelihood that they'll have a kid with wings, and I'm just like, he's full Illyrian. He's gonna have the same situation as Nesta and Cassian. I don't know what y'all are talking about. So
right.
anyways.
And her bones stretch. That was the whole thing. Her bones are flexible.
Right.
Like,
she's flexible. Fine.
Yeah. And like, what an offhanded comment to make.
Right.
But
right.
like, also, like, that's not the only reason I think they can be together. So like, it's just if Sarah J. Maas is gonna make babies a plot point, which she said that there are gonna be more babies in ACOTAR, like she has flat out said it in Alive, like there will be more babies. That there's a reason she altered
right.
Nesta's anatomy, and there's a reason that she brought up Gwen's pliable nymph bones. Get mad at Sarah J. Maas. Don't get mad at me.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. The Archeron sisters are witches.
Yes, Sam.
Explain this.
Okay. All right. So I think most of us have thought from the beginning, like maybe the Archerons were something.
Yes.
Like I think a lot of people were thinking maybe they were fae somehow. Like part fae, obviously. So I don't know why I thought of this one day, but I was like, okay, what if they're witches? Because there are 3 of them.
Right.
They could represent the 3-faced goddess, right?
Okay.
And so the witch blood, just to back up a little bit, I think would be like a leads level. Like, I don't think it would be,
fair.
To make them like iron nails and whatever.
Yeah.
But just enough to like give them something. And it would kind of explain why their mom was like mean, like how she was, if she had like that witch kind of side to her.
Yeah.
But so going with they represent the 3-faced goddess. So it would be Mother, Maiden, and Crone. Avery, you basically covered all of Nesta's mother. She could represent the mother part. And also I want to point out there is a part in Akasif where she is by the mantle in the House of Wind. And there is a statue of a goddess holding up a moon. And that was like my main connection when I started spiraling. I read Akasif.
That's awesome.
But so Nesta, you pretty much already covered her like mother connection there. Elaine is actually where I started with the witch connection, which connects to the blue blood witches.
Okay.
Because the blue bloods in Petra and in Throne of Glass, they talk about very briefly that the blue bloods are known to be seers.
Yeah.
And that they can see the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Elaine got seer powers from the cauldron. So she would represent the blue bloods, the maiden part of this whole thing. And then loosely, I don't know how Feyre really would be like the crone yellow legs. I mean, she's badass, but like, this is still like a rough kind of thing. But that's my kind of thought there, with then linking back to Elaine and the blue bloods and the priestesses. I'm kind of wondering if there's reasoning in there of where Elaine is going to go with her story, that she might have to go to the day court and go to Helian's library for some reason, or Helian needs her seer powers or something with that. Because I just want Elaine and Lucian in the day court and that whole thing to play out.
I'm 100% with you on that.
Because I think we're going to see Helian's library at some point. Like, I think we need to go there. And just going on my theory, it would make most sense for Elaine to go.
Right.
So there's that. And then that's like my basic they're witches kind of theory. But two little things that I added on to this. For whatever reason, during our Throne of Glass reread, I latched on to the fact that Manon's broom, like before magic disappeared, it was made out of ironwood. Like,
Oh, interesting.
I don't know why. I was like, okay, ironwood. So that made me look through all the other books, and ironwood is not mentioned very much in the other books. The only time ironwood comes up in Crescent City, at least the first one, is in Griffin Antiquities. It is Jessica's desk in Griffin Antiquities.
Okay.
And we know she was a witch.
Yeah.
So that's the only time Crescent City is brought up. Then the only time it's brought up in Akatar is remember when the sisters were still at home, they shared a bed.
Mm-hmm.
The bed frame was made of ironwood.
Of course it was.
Oh,
It was
that's
a
wild.
gift. It was a gift from their father to their mother as a wedding present.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. So that was I'm like, ironwood and witches. And so that was basically my whole spiral. It is a big stretch, obviously. But it could just be a loose interpretation of the three-faced goddess along with like cauldron powers. Because we know witches and cauldrons go together.
I mean, it's a real, like, I like the idea of the Archeron sisters being witches because I think it connects it, and especially if it's like an Iliad type of witch situation where it's very
like it's not really a big deal, but it's more symbolic and would probably play into the gods more.
Yeah.
And also,
I think it's interesting that Devlin calls Nesta a witch.
Yeah,
too,
right.
So.
That's another one. And two, the Archesian amulet.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Archesian, Archeron.
That's close enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
right.
I think it's significant that there are 3 circlets in that amulet too.
Right. Like my little amulet.
Cute.
But yeah, I mean, it's the 3 circles. And so trying to do like a timeline, I'm like, what if Elaine goes to the library in Daycourt and they somehow are making up like that's the priestesses that they create, and then the sisters have to do like the power of 3 kind of thing from Charm. Right?
Yeah.
And like,
okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. Like, I think it's well, first off, I think I would love to see us go to the day court because I feel like the day court is going to hold a lot of answers. We
need Helion. We need the Pegasus.
Yes.
Okay, do not get me started on the Valkyries and the Pegasuses. I will spiral.
Yeah.
Oh, and that was my other slight reach with the witches, is that they're all slowly developing ways to fly.
Yeah.
Like the sisters, because Farah has her wings now. And Nesta, I mean, she's going to get on a Pegasus, right? Like,
obviously.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. I don't know what Elaine's going to do. I didn't get that far in my theories. Yeah. We don't really know enough about her.
Fine.
But I was like, kind of interesting.
Right.
Or maybe she becomes one of the priestess something, and that's her connection to like Blue Bloods and Hypaxia. I don't know.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe we'll get a wyvern in Akatar.
Please.
Maybe a wyvern in Crescent City.
We have been promised dragons in Crescent City because I swear to God, they mentioned dragons in like a passing sentence.
It's not even in a passing sentence. I'm pretty sure it's in the very front of the book.
Oh, is it in the house thing?
Yeah, I think so.
My book's too far away.
It's okay. I've got it right here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. House of Flame and Shadow. Daemonici, Reapers, Wraiths, Vampires, Draki, Dragons, Necromancers, and many wicked and unnamed things that even Erd herself cannot see.
So that is the book that I want.
Yeah.
Oh, I would kill for a.
I mean, I think she's going to go down the order of those houses.
I think it's also important to note, just for shits and gigs, that Kelpies and Nox and Nymphs are all listed under the House of Many Waters.
Right.
Nymphs and Kelpies.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just it's there's a lot of creature crossover, I think. So and I think it's very safe to say that like especially with the whole Northern Rift thing and creatures coming over, like they have to
Mhm.
be tied, whether it is to, you know, Akatar, Prithian, all of that, or to another place entirely.
Yeah.
I think it's also important to note that there are people trapped in Koshay's lake,
Right.
Oh yeah.
as well as people trapped inside the prison.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something's gonna happen, y'all. I just don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody said in the YouTube chat that Azrael is definitely not full Illyrian, and I need somebody to explain to me where they are getting this information.
Yeah, you don't know.
In what the wiki says he's Illyrian,
I mean,
literally refers to him as Illyrian and Cassian as
Right.
Illyrian, and says that the only true high fae person is Moore, but
Right.
he is half Illyrian.
Right.
Like I
don't know. I mean, I think he's full Illyrian, but okay.
I don't like what? I'm sorry. I just
any other, I know we have like, we talked a lot about Meryl and Jezebel and Adis. I think we can cover anything else we want to cover. I'm going to read some of the comments while
yeah.
Okay,
I'm
someone
scrolling up to the top.
Someone said, I really do think that the Valg are already in Crescent City and that they might still worship Maeve, and so Luna is an incarnation of Maeve, hence the wolves. That could be very interesting. Because it does mention that Maeve has a bunch of wolves with her. Obviously, we just read that tonight, so that's kind of cool. The whole wolf star theory. So is this, I'm assuming this has to be the father thing? Is that what that is? Wolf star? Sirius?
I mean, I don't know.
So there's two theories with the wolf star. For those of you that don't know, that is Sirius in Crescent City, who is dead, and was killed by the Star Eater, the seventh prince of hell. So
Hunt's dad.
Right. Well, some people also, but the wolf star is a female, right?
Right.
So Sirius, yes.
Yeah. So Sirius is a female, and I know at one point some people thought that could potentially be Hunt's mother. And I don't really buy that theory. I do think she was definitely an angel. I don't know if anyone else buys that theory.
Well, he talks about her enough to make it feel like
she's an angel.
Yeah.
So that's kind of that. But I think, and so a lot of people think that's either tied to Bryce or to Hunt. I don't know if it's directly tied to them, but I do think that if the Star Eater is the one that killed it, and then it's this beautiful parallel of why Hunt's father is the Star Eater, Prince of Hell. So, okay. New crack theory to support the whole Lorcan idea. Illy's part witch. That somehow connects. It does. It does connect. So
I do.
Yeah.
I always feel like if they create a kid, that kid's going to be wickedly powerful because of Lorcan.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I know the witch blood is like very minimal and Illy, but
But then you think about how the consort of Hellas watches over Elide, and then Hellas himself watches over Lorcan, and then you've got obviously the whole Farisha bit. Like come on, any kid of that pairing is going to be wicked, and I would love to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were cheated. We were cheated there. We were cheated with Minorian, and I can't. It makes me sad.
Someone said, "Do you think the Queen of Many Faces could be Maeve?"
Potentially, yes. It's complicated because I also think that the Queen of Many Faces can refer to Aelin.
Right.
Yeah. Someone said they believe that Bryce is the Wolf Star because Danica's father recognized her.
Cute.
That would be cute. I'm here for it. I think
it would be cool to have her not be an Asteri, but like step into somewhat of that role in a Asteri-less.
Well, I don't know how that would
Midgard,
because there's some brief mentions in Crescent City about like Bryce could become an Asteri, and I'm like, how do you become an Asteri? Like, they're gonna put a collar on you? They're gonna put a ring on you? Like, how is this? I don't understand. Like, I don't really get that, but like, so I do think she's obviously from the summary and stuff. We do know that we're gonna get a lot of intense information about the Asteri because it's heavily implied. Someone said, is it half Illyrian because we don't know who his father is? We don't know who Az's father is. So we do know that Az's father is an Illyrian lord. So that was he's a bastard child of an Illyrian lord, and wasn't the mother like a maid or something in the house?
Yeah, like there's enough implied that his mother is just disregarded as are most women in Illyrian culture. Like,
yeah.
And I don't know why Azriel's father hated him other than the fact that he was a bastard. But I think that might just be enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was that.
Like,
I thought it had to do with like his father's actual wife, like just not liking that he had this son and just wanted.
And that could also be it. Yeah. Like the issue came his burn scars are from his stepbrothers. And his father didn't have necessarily anything to do with that, and it was his father's like guard who came later, but like Azriel's hands were already like destroyed at that point. But like his father locked him away, but he allowed him to see his mom, so he wasn't a total monster. He's enough of a monster to be an awful human Illyrian person, and I hate him. But I still don't. It's like grasping at straws. Like, why are we taking evidence that we have that supports the idea that Azriel's parents are both Illyrian and just convoluting it into thinking that he could be half Illyrian just to make something else work? Like, I don't know. I don't get it.
Okay, so the last one that's on Slido says, can we talk about the Asterian horses from Throne of Glass and the Asteri in Crescent City?
And the Asterian blades.
Yeah. So I don't know a whole lot about this one, so I'll probably any crazy. Do you guys think that they're all connected?
Yes.
Do you just think that it's like because the names are so similar?
Well, that was the starting point for me, because it's that passage that I put in the CC prep on Discord today. I was looking up in Tower of Dawn. I don't know why I decided to look it up, but about the Asteri blades, and it's when Nesrin and Sartak they're going to try and find the baby rooks and the spiders and whatever, and they go to that one tower, and they find where the ancient fae that used to be there that left at some point.
Yes.
But they are fae smiths in Asterian, which is to the east of Dornell. And they think it might have been before the first Demon Wars.
I think it's before the first Demon Wars is like super important, because they talk about Demon Wars in both Crescent City and Akatar too.
Yeah. I forget, do we find out what happened to those fae? They just disappeared, and then some of them were in the crypts, right?
Yeah, as far as we know, like in Tower of Dawn, they're just like gone. I think some were killed by the spiders.
Yeah.
Because we have like those traps and like the warning that was scratched into the or I think it was in blood, actually, maybe.
Yeah. Like in the tower.
Yeah, right before the spider like jumps on them. But when they find these Asterian blades, it's like Nesrin says, it's ancient dirt. She brushes ancient dirt from the hilt, revealing shiny dark metal inlaid with swirls of gold. And she just goes on describing the swords, and they're like, Asterian, like the horses, one and the same, great smiths and horse breeders, or so it once was before borders closed and the world darkened. And Nesrin studied the short sword in her hand, the metal shining as if imbued with starlight, interrupted only by the carvings down the fuller. I wonder what the markings say, and they talk about spells and whatever, and that likely spells against enemies, perhaps even against the Valg. So basically they find these blades that sound an awful lot like some star swords, or Nesta's sword, and basically can cut off Valg's heads, it sounds like. So they were battling them. So whoever the Asteri were prepped to fight the Valg.
Yeah. I didn't even think about those Fae or just the people there who.
Yeah. So my theory and my spiral with this is that those Fae fighting, the demon wars being Valg. Yeah. I think when like all that escape and stuff happened, that the Asteri or the Valg that escaped from Throne of Glass just took on the name of Asteri to be like, we're the good guys now because they can rewrite history, right?
Right.
Like Crescent City for me, like the past kind of feels like Throne of Glass if the Valg had won.
Yes.
And so they could say whatever they wanted to say,
Yeah. Someone commented, just to throw it out here, in Tower of Dawn, Nesrin goes to Sarta, which translates to Windhaven.
Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah, so there are some like, which is wild.
Like I just screamed throughout Tower of Dawn on the reread, and everyone just ignored me.
No, but I think you make a good point. I think Tower of Dawn is a book that people sleep on for multiple reasons, but it is one that holds a lot of really interesting information. And you're right in regard. I just didn't think about. I think a lot of us think that the Fae of Throne of Glass are the ones in Dornell, the ones in Wendelin, but it could easily just be the Southern Continent ones that we rarely see, and that could be enough.
They could have moved around. There's nothing saying that they're not, one and the same, but they, whatever Fae went to the Southern Continent to like prep and fight the Valg, or that happened to disappear at whatever point.
Yeah. Oh, it was Sartak. I thought that was a location. It was Sartak. I don't know. So do you think the Fae, obviously it's really hard to say, but do we all think that there's Throne of Glass Fae in Crescent City, or do we just think it's Prithian Fae? Or
I think it's both.
I think it's both.
I think it's got to be both. And if it's both,
I think obviously I agree with you that the Avalon or Avalon Fae are more closely related to the Throne of Glass side of things.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of us just assume it's Wendelin, but it could be the Southern Continent, or it could even be the ones in Terrasen, the ones that were wolves for all those years. Like, we didn't even talk about them, but that is another type of Fae that we're all just kind of sleeping on in the corner. That is a good possibility.
Yeah. I think the witches came over from Throne of Glass as well. Because we do find out, and I'm gonna butcher her name, but one of the members of the 13, Ghislaine. Okay. She's the one that likes to read and all of that, and that Manon goes and talks to her about the Valg and Erewhon.
Yes.
And they drop the fact that she got to go to school with mortals.
Yes.
Where she learned magic.
Yes, in Terrasen.
I'm like, so witches can learn magic? Like, they can do magic?
Yeah, that's a real. We went through that last night, that passage with Ghislaine, and that's a really interesting thing to bring up, because it is kind of like a bizarre, little nugget. Is just like that she.
Like, wait.
Because they even say that she's got like human instincts, like she waves her hands like a human, and it is very. It kind of also reminds you that the witches are not human, because I think a lot of us just assume that they have humanoid things, and it's just, but they are so different, which is, really.
It's kind of how they were raised. Yeah. Like, they were really brutal killing machines, but if they got outside of the matrons, they were more normal.
Right. Yeah. It's a very, the witches, I think we can all agree. I feel like the witches and probably the Fae are probably the most likely that crossed over at some point. And since unfortunately we don't have a lot of information about the witches in Akatar, we just can assume that it is somehow connected to witches in Throne of Glass.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know as we're wrapping this up, I think kind of the big thing I would, I guess, as quickly as we possibly can, timeline wise, do we feel like, who do we think is the start of the timeline?
I feel like Throne of Glass starts.
Yeah, I think it has to be.
And you think Crescent City's the end or Akatar?
I think it's complicated.
Yeah.
Because if you look at actual timelines, Throne of Glass, the whole thing takes place over the course of what, like 60 weeks, something like, it's like just over a year. It's not long at all. And at the very least, Akatar takes place over the course of about 2.5 years.
Yes.
2.5 to 3 years. So in the idea of stacked worlds.
But do you think they're all moving at the same time?
No.
I don't either.
I think time, in my brain, time moves slower in Throne of Glass than it does in Akatar, because you have the end of Throne of Glass is, I'm calling it the middle. I'm calling Silver Flames the middle of Akatar because we still have several books to go and we've finished Throne of Glass. So, like, if you're stacking them, I think Throne of Glass moves slower than Akatar, but Crescent City is more advanced.
So probably moving the fastest.
Probably moving the fastest.
Yeah.
And considering what, like, Crescent City takes place over 3 months or something like that. It's not, it's a short amount of time for an 800-page book.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's kind of the interesting thing. People always ask, like, I think people always forget that Throne of Glass takes place in like less than a year. Like, the longest time that passes, I believe, is Heir of Fire. It's Heir of Fire, and then obviously Kingdom of Ash, because a ton of time passes in that book. But in the other ones, it's like over the course of like 2 or 3 weeks, and then it's like moving along. So yeah, I would agree. I think it's probably like a year for Throne of Glass is probably like 6 months for Akatar, which is equal to like a month for Crescent City, like something like that.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to pinpoint where Crescent City is on the timeline, but we know for sure where Akatar is.
Right. Like, we know that Crescent City exists in the timeline because of the fall.
Yes.
But we don't know where we're at in Crescent City during the fall because we don't have a reference point for that.
Yeah. Someone said that there is a big time skip in Crescent City, though. And there is. I think we all are just kind of, all of us are just pretending like what is it? It's like basically over a year, 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we're thinking more from part 2 to part 4, I think, is over the course of 3 months.
No, we're not talking about from
part 1.
Danica's death.
Yeah.
Like, if we're talking about the actual span of time from the point that Hunt and Isaiah knock on the door of Griffin Antiquities to the gates, it's the span of months.
Yeah,
it's not a full year.
Okay,
for sure.
So I guess then we can save some of the Crescent City stuff for later because we're doing a Zoom session next week for that. But I guess my last question for you guys is, what do you think is your favorite theory, or what do you think is the most likely theory, crossover wise?
Ooh, crossover wise, the one I'm throwing my weight behind is probably I'm really attached to the High King Finn, Queen Thea, Prince Peleus.
Oh yeah,
that big one that includes Gwydion as the Star Sword and the Horn as the Dread Trove. I'm throwing a lot of weight behind that one, but I also really, really, really love the Nesta and Deanna stuff. So those are probably the two that I think are most likely, because they don't deal with any characters that we know and love, which she has flat out said, like, Rowan and Rhys are not going to meet, or Aelin and Feyre are not going to meet. So, like, I think we can take that out of the equation, but the idea that these ancient Fae definitely, like, the time works, where the queen and her general betrayed the High King of Prythian and left with these sacred objects to cross through, and we know that that Queen Thea and Prince Peleus came through the crossing.
Yeah.
So that's probably the one I'm throwing most of my weight behind. If we're getting a crossover, that's where my money's at.
Okay. Where do you think, Samantha?
I mean, I agree with the like the Deanna kind of god crossover, because it feels like the gods are just kind of like in the background, like,
Yeah.
but they could easily change their names, or like, you know, in Tower of Dawn, they mentioned there's at least 36 gods. So
Yes.
you don't know where they all are, went, or whatever. So yeah, I think that is most likely. And the Valg just being a consistent thing throughout. And libraries. Libraries are the key to everything.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the libraries involve the priestesses.
Yeah.
There's witches in the libraries. That I think what is interesting to me is the way they described Lanthus is very reminiscent to Bryaxis for me and his first form. So like Lanthus is very mist, his first form, and so is Bryaxis. They're like intangible. So I think because Bryaxis was in the library for however long he was in the library for,
right,
like, there's something to be said for that. So
yeah. I'm staking my claim on the Asteria Valg. I really, really
I can
want
get
that to
behind
happen.
it.
Like
It has to be.
I feel, I don't know if she'll actually do it, but I really want her to, because I feel like it's a subtle enough theory that we could really sell. And like, you don't have to read Throne of Glass to know it, but if you know it, you're gonna know it when you see it, and it will be a really cool moment. So I really want to stake on that one. And then I think the other one would be about the horn and the dead trove. Like, I just, that has to be a thing.
It has to be the fourth item.
It has to be. Yeah. There's too much connecting it for it to not. I also have like a whole like mini theory that like, so we know that Silver Flames, which is on the bottom here, the front cover of Silver Flames is the mask.
Right.
And we also know that there are 3 additional books left in the ACOTAR series as of right now.
Yeah.
2 books and a novella. And we do know that according to A Court of Silver Flames, there are 3 more items of the Dread Trove left. So I really do think that each of the next items is going to be each of the next covers is going to be a Dread Trove item on the cover, which is, I'm also throwing my money behind the heart being on the cover of the next book and it being an Azrael Gwynriel book. So
that would be cool. I'm down for that.
That's where I'm at, because they're both singers and it's music and it's cute.
Yeah.
Cute.
Someone says,
I love them so much.
Someone says, do you think we'll find out about the Asteria in this book, or do you think she'll make us wait? I don't think we will find out that they're Valg in this book. It will be like either the final book or like the book right before the final book.
Probably Flame and Shadow book.
Yeah, I know she says that like, oh, this is only, I think she's contracted for a trilogy for Crescent City, but we all know how that works, so it will probably be 4 books. And my guess is in the Many Waters book, it will be heavily hinted at, and then it will be confirmed in Flame and Shadow that that's who they are. Although it wouldn't also surprise me if they do, if we do find out in this book, like if someone is cut and we see black blood, and like that wouldn't surprise me, because I think all of us here thought Hunt was not going to lose his slave mark tattoo until like the end of the series. So
good God, you're right.
Yeah, we should have known though. It was like reminiscent of Rowan and Air of Fire, because I was like, oh, so a big arc's going to be him trying to get away from Maeve, and then it was like, oh, done.
Yeah.
So cool. Well, thank you guys for hopping on. I mean, we talked for a little over 2 hours, which was perfect. And we got to
2.5.
totally spiral. And I know we will continue to spiral in the Discord and
absolutely
everywhere else. And then, so our next thing, we have a Zoom session next week. So that's, anyone can hop in and join. It won't be live. And the whole purpose is just so we can all talk together right before the book comes out, because it will come out just a few days after, which is wild to think about.
It's so exciting.
Yeah.
We're so close.
Yeah.
We're so close.
We're so close. So, and then we'll have the midnight party, which will start at 10 o'clock Eastern and we'll go till midnight. And at that point, everyone should have the book on Kindle edition. So you guys will all be able to jump on and read it, which is so exciting. So yeah. Well, thank you guys again. I appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and start the music.
Yeah, thank you.
And I will see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, they can't see or hear you. Oh, wait, hold on. Now they can't see or hear you. Oh, nope.